We're going to have a look at the international papers now with Dipti, who's joining us here on set. It's freezing here in Paris at the moment. You wouldn't have thought this news is the case, but once again, 2016 apparently now, the hottest year on Earth, Dipti.
The Earth was sizzling last year. That's according to USA Today, and not in a good way. Record high temperatures were set on nearly every continent last year. Temperatures rose by nearly 1 degree, which sounds little, but is in fact a lot. USA Today reports that human activity is definitely to blame for this rise, Stuart. It explains the mega wildfires, heat waves, and coral bleaching we saw last year. The last time the Earth was this warm was 125,000 years ago.
Wow, we're also being warned about human activity contributing to the decline of species like giraffes, frogs, all essential, of course, to the ecosystem. And scientists now saying that primates are the latest beasts to be facing problems.
Yeah, it's a really sad article from The Independent. Primates, our closest cousins, are facing extinction. Scientists are sounding the alarm for several species of primates. They're saying they're facing their 11th hour. The Independent reports that of 504 primate species, over 60% are threatened with extinction and 75% have declining populations. But there is still time to reverse this trend. But scientists say we have to act now. Primates are mainly killed for meat or body parts. In some cases, they're kept as exotic pets. But the primary cause of their decline is deforestation, land being cleared for human activity. For example, in the case of the Sumatran orangutan, its population declined by 60% between 1985 and 2007.
Quite a lot of coverage as well to the British Foreign Minister Boris Johnson's comments to François Hollande. He's put his foot in it again, hasn't he?
Once again, he's put his foot in it. Downing Street has been forced to defend Boris Johnson once again after his comments on Wednesday in which he more or less accused François Hollande, the French president, of trying to, quote, administer punishment beatings to anyone who seeks to escape the EU. He then likened it to a World War II movie, which certain press, at least in Britain, have likened his comments to Nazi Germany. What's interesting is we haven't really seen much of a comment from the French press, but the British press have been all over it. Tabloid The Mirror says Boris should beat it. They say bungling Boris Johnson could find someone to insult in an empty room. They also call him a, quote, professional clown, a wayward buffoon, and blast him for essentially helping Britain lose friends and alienate nations at a time when it needs it the most.
Well, the chief Brexit negotiator himself, in fact, Guy Verhofstadt, has also criticised those comments. Now, he's penned, actually, an opinion piece in The Guardian.
It's really interesting. He calls Boris Johnson's comments deeply unhelpful. He says Brexit will be sad, surreal, and exhausting, but that Britain can choose to be a partner in the process or be an impediment to it. Either way, Verhofstadt says Brexit is Brexit. The UK can't leave the EU and choose to opt back in when it sees fit. This is nothing but an illusion.
US press is reacting to Barack Obama's final press conference.
Well, nothing new came out of the press conference, that's what the Daily Beast says, but it essentially served not to disturb the serenity of Obama's exit on billowy clouds of goodwill and a 60% rating. And Steve Sachs, a cartoonist, actually makes this point, the difference between the incoming and outgoing presidents. In his cartoon in the Star Tribune, here you see out goes class, dignity, and ethics. In comes megalomania, opulence, and yes, that's a statue of Vladimir Putin just behind there.
One of Obama's big decisions, of course, this week has been to commute Chelsea Manning's sentence. He talked about that.
Yeah, he did, and he defended that decision at the press conference on Wednesday, saying that justice had been served. He was pleased with the decision, and that Chelsea Manning had served a tough prison sentence. Manning was known before as Bradley Manning and had leaked more than 700,000 classified documents to WikiLeaks in 2010. Now, the New York Times, in their editorial, reminds us that it was Obama's overtly aggressive Justice Department that sought and won Manning's absurd long sentence in the first place. Nevertheless, they hail the decision to grant her clemency.
Finally, the big story of the day, what everyone wants to know, what the future First Lady is going to be wearing at the inauguration ceremony.
What and who she'll be wearing. We know a lot of designers have chosen to opt out of dressing the future First Lady at the inauguration ceremony. In particular, Tom Ford, who said his clothes were too expensive and didn't reflect the American population. But it appears there are two designers who are working on her dresses. Ralph Lauren, an American designer, and Karl Lagerfeld are apparently working on designs, but it's not confirmed yet. But this is really important. The first dress that the First Lady wears sets a tone for how she's going to handle being First Lady. We know, for instance, Michelle Obama was a big fan of up-and-coming designers, and she often wore designs from obscure designers.
Perhaps a bikini, we shall see. Thanks, Dipti with the papers. Right after the break, we'll bring you up to date with that story you can see on the bottom of your screens there about that earthquake in Italy. And we're going to be reporting as well on how the homeless here in Paris can now get a free cup of coffee, easily find a toilet, and perhaps use a phone charger. All part of an effort by local shops to help.